welcome everybody to this webinar. Today we'll be talking about communication styles, okay? So to begin, just like Ms. Witte told you, I just wanted to remind you of the objectives for this presentation. So today the goal is for everyone to learn the difference between the 4 communication styles, learn the importance of assertive communication, and learn the difference between using I and you statements. So to begin, there are 4 different communication styles. You got your passive communication style, your aggressive communication style, your passive-aggressive communication style, and your assertive communication style. When learning about this topic, it's important for you to identify which one is your communication style and how it might be affecting you in your relationships. So to begin, I wanted to talk about the passive communication. So individuals who communicate passively usually are those that avoid asserting their feelings, needs, or opinions. They may allow others to infringe on their rights advertently or inadvertently. So this is your person that doesn't speak up when they don't like something. They tend to speak softly and apologetically, and sometimes they may have poor eye contact and a slumped body posture. So if you think about someone that is passive, this could be someone that doesn't really, when they don't like something, they might not tell you about it, or these are the people that usually say more yes than no. So they are usually willing to say yes to a request, even if they might not really be up for doing it. So what happens when you communicate passively? How does this impact you? This might impact you in how you feel. So you may feel anxious because your life might seem out of control. If you don't say no to other people, this is going to affect how you feel. The next thing is that you might feel stuck and hopeless, which can lead to depression. When you don't defend yourself, this is going to affect your self-esteem. You might not feel worthy of saying no to other people or to defend yourself. You might feel resentment because your needs are not being met in that relationship if you don't assert yourself, if you don't tell somebody that you don't like something or that you need something. You might feel confused because you're ignoring your own feelings. So when we ignore our own feelings with time, we may not really be able to identify how we feel. And you're not really addressing your issues. So what might happen is that things are going unresolved. And what might happen with time also is that you might explode. Like you might have too much and then you might explode, then feel guilty, then go back to communicating passively. Our second communication style is going to be the aggressive communication. So communication style for aggressive individuals is when you assert your needs, but you infringe on somebody else's rights. So this is the person that tries to dominate others, might use humiliation to control others, may criticize, blame, or attack other people. They have low frustration tolerance. They may speak in a loud, demanding, or overbearing voice, act threateningly and rudely. They might not be very good listeners. They interrupt frequently, and they use you statements. You statements are when you blame somebody for how you're feeling. So when you tell someone, you make me angry, you did this to me, you made me sad, you're inconsiderate. So those statements where you're usually pointing fingers at somebody else are considered aggressive communication. People who communicate aggressively may have an overbearing and intimidating posture. So think about the boss that's always yelling at somebody, or the parent that's always yelling at their kids, or that is threatening their kids. That might be someone more of an aggressive communication. So how might communicating like this affect you? So if you are aggressive towards others, you may become alienated from others, and you might alienate others because People don't really like to be around someone that's constantly yelling or humiliating them. You may generate fear and hatred in others. And with this type of communication, you're not really taking responsibility for your own actions. You are blaming other people instead of resolving your issues. The third communication style is called passive-aggressive communication. In this style, individuals are usually passive on the surface, when in reality they are acting out of anger, or they might be trying to get back at you in a subtle or indirect way. So for these people, it is hard to acknowledge that they're angry. They might whisper something under their breath when they don't like something instead of telling you directly. Their facial expression might not match how they are feeling, so they might be smiling at you but offending you at the same time. So, your backhanded compliments are an example of passive-aggressive communication. Using sarcasm, denying there is a problem, appearing competitive while doing things to annoy or disrupt. So you might be telling somebody that you're doing what they want, but you're not. You're doing it in a way that might be annoying to them. And using subtle sabotage to get even. So sometimes rumors might be a passive-aggressive communication, or telling somebody's secret, telling a friend that the other friend said something just to get back at them. That's passive-aggressive communication, because you're not confronting the problem face to face. You're doing it more behind somebody else's back. So how might this affect you? So you might still become alienated, because usually people like people that are more face-to-face. People don't like when things happen behind their back. You may remain stuck in a position of powerlessness, because that's where it comes from. You feel like you don't have control over something, so you go behind the scenes to try and fix it. What might happen is that instead of fixing it, you're making things worse. So instead of feeling empowered, you might still feel a little bit helpless. And this type of communication discharges resentment instead of helping you address the issues. So you're still not resolving things, and you might be making things worse. So the type of communication where you want to move forward, we all do a little bit of the past three, and we might do a little bit of this one, but this one is the most effective type of communication. This is the assertive communication. In the assertive communication, individuals usually clearly state their opinions and feelings. They advocate for themselves without infringing on other people's rights. You're not really humiliating anybody. You're just telling people how you want things to be done, or what you need, or how you're feeling. So assertive communicators use I statements. So instead of you statements where you might say, "You made me angry," I statements, you take responsibility for your own emotions. So you say, "I'm feeling angry. I feel angry because of this." Assertive communication communicates respect for others. If you're in assertive communication, you listen without interrupting. It helps you feel in control of yourself. You make good eye contact. You speak in a clear, calm tone of voice, and you have a relaxed posture. It helps you feel connected with others, and it helps you feel competent and in control. When you're assertive, you're not allowing other people to abuse you or manipulate you, like in the passive communication, and you stand up for your rights. So how might communicating assertively help you? It might help you feel connected with others, because you are more open to communicating how you're feeling. It helps you feel control of your life, because you are addressing your problems as they arise. It helps you address your problems effectively, and it creates a respectful environment at home or work. So how can you communicate assertively? So as I mentioned before I keep going, I wanted to remind you to text your questions to 770-242-0001, or also you can use a chat feature on Zoom. So how do you communicate assertively? You use I statements. I statements are used to help de-escalate conflict and avoid blaming other people for the way that you feel. So usually the way that we feel comes from us. Other people can't make you feel how you feel. You react how you react. So it's important for you to take responsibility for your own emotions. I statements help people assert their needs without violating other people's rights. And they are, like I said, they're assertive, while you statements, like I said also before, might be more aggressive. So how do you do I statements? The first thing that you need to do is that you need to express how you feel by using feeling words. Feeling words are words that are connecting to emotions. So you want to use sad, I feel angry, frustrated, hurt, guilty. You want to be as specific as possible, because if you say I feel bad, that's not specific enough. What's bad for you might not be what is bad for me. So if bad for you is angry, bad for me might feel sad. So I might get the wrong message when you're telling me that. Be sure to use a soft and even tone of voice, because if you raise your voice, you're no longer being assertive, you're being more aggressive. The second thing that you want to do is that you want to explain that you are angry at the behavior, not the person. So you might say, I feel angry when you raise your voice, and or when you don't call me back, instead of saying I'm angry because you are inconsiderate. You want to be sure to be objective and stick to the facts. How can you be objective? You need to make sure that the evidence that you have for being angry holds up in a court of law. So if a judge won't take your evidence, that might not be objective evidence. It might be subjective. Subjective is when you think something is going on. When you say, hey, I'm sad because you don't love me, that's not objective enough. You have to have hard evidence for it. So the third thing that you need to know to do is explain how the person's actions affect you. So you use because. Again, remember to stay objective and abstain from pointing fingers or using assumptions. Don't try to read people's minds. Don't try to assume things. By reading people's minds, sometimes we might say, I know you don't love me. You really don't know, because the person hasn't told you. So you have to wait for that. So to put it all together, and to give you an example, instead of saying to somebody, let's say your spouse is always late from work. So instead of telling them, you make me angry because you're always late, you might want to use this instead. You might want to use the I statement. So first step, I feel frustrated when you come home late because I stay awake worrying about you. So you're explaining why, and you're trying not to make any assumptions. When you do this, and also you will receive some copies of the PowerPoint for this presentation. I know I just gave you a lot of information, and there's also some examples for you to practice. But when you do this, when you communicate using I statements, you are taking responsibility for your emotions. You are expressing to other people how their actions may affect you. And this is going to help you in building better relationships, because instead of escalating arguments, it's going to de-escalate them. And it's going to create a better ground for you to communicate with others. So this might help you in your office, with your kids, and with your partners.